Hello again, wrestling fans. It is Thursday night, and it is time for another edition of the Scumbags Wrestling Podcast. My name is Sean, coming to you from London, Ontario, Canada, and you are hopefully joining us live on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook. We're going to open house drop-in show, so check out our Facebook page and find the link of how you can drop into the show and be a part of it. And we got stuff to talk about. There's breaking news involving the releases that happened today. And so there's a lot going on in that regards. Plus, last time I left you, we talked about WrestleMania week and saw the Hall of Fame and also NXT. And yeah, oh, okay, sorry, just somebody sent me a message. Stephen, unfortunately, is not going to be with us. Still dealing with some family issues. Once again, our condolences out to him at this time with the loss of his grandmother. But yeah, so we talked about the NXT takeover double show that was going on, and I believe we even got through SmackDown as it led to WrestleMania. So we're going to pick up where we left off with WrestleMania results. Once again, as I said, if you go to our Facebook page, you're going to end up finding a link if you'd like to drop in and discuss any of the releases that happen. You can also just type in the comments section and I'll share along the way as well. So either way you want to do it, if you want to be part of the show, we're going to try a drop-in session tonight. I am flying solo, and it's always better when somebody else is on the other end and we can banter a bit. But yeah, just a reminder that we are part of the Johners Podcasting Network and also the Ontario Indie Podcasting Network here in Ontario. So we got the UK, we got Ontario, we got sharing in Montreal and stuff like that. We're going to be all over the place as much as we can. And there's always going to be ways of finding us: Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, if you're not joining us live or can't stay for the whole show, and you can join in later on. I see we have a few viewers here, so feel free to send me a comment and we will include you in tonight's show. Now, as I said, we left you with everything WrestleMania, but the breaking news today was releases, and I got WWE.com up, and it really doesn't go right to any news type deal. So I'm actually getting more of it from links that people are finally sharing, and it's probably being shared on Twitter and Instagram easier than going to the network. But now there is 10 talent that have been released. Last year at this time, there was a mass release. That's where we saw people like Drake Maverick, Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins, Rusev, and a whole bunch of others released. Drake Maverick did get to stay, but others got released along the way. And they also furloughed some writers, and they've been able to come back, or should I say, producers, talent, whatever. They're called agents for matches such as Hurricane Helms and others have been brought back along the way. But today was another round of releases. And looking at some of the list, I'm a little surprised at some of them. But at the same time, I'm looking at it and going, maybe they asked for their release, because I've seen different Twitter posts and comments along the way over the last while of these talent wanting to go, and they feel that have not been treated so well. Now, that's understandable, and if you're working for a company that's just going to have you sit on the sidelines, you know, eventually enough is enough and you want to go. I've even seen people like Buddy Murphy post stuff. He is yet to be announced, but the people who have been announced, probably the biggest name and surprise on the list, Samoa Joe. Now, he had just finished commentating WrestleMania with Michael Cole all last weekend. And so that comes as a surprise. They were using him really well as a commentator, but had just removed him this past Monday from Raw. So I was wondering if he was going to be coming back to the ring. But I guess maybe WD feels he's a little too injury prone and he wants to get back in the ring and actually do some wrestling. And so, once again, he could have asked for his release. But Samoa Joe is gone from WWE, has a 90-day no compete clause, but where he will show up, who knows? Where would you like to see him show up? We have a comment over here. We'll see if. Okay, that's a comment about the Stone Cold special. We will talk about that in a little bit. Right now, we're talking about releases. Other releases included Wesley Blake, former NXT Tag Team Champion, and after he got brought up to the main roster, a lot of things happened with his tag team partners that caused him to go nowhere really fast. And I would have actually put him back with Buddy Murphy, but who knows? Not being used and time for move on. Bo Dallas is another one. He's been sitting around on the farm, apparently, that him and, which kind of surprised me a few weeks ago when I read it, Liv Morgan have together. And he has not been used in the longest time. People thought he was the Fiend in the crispy mask and everything, and not Wyndham Rotunda, aka Bray Wyatt, doing that. And with everything that happened with Alexa Bliss recently, and parting with the Fiend as it looks to happen this past Monday, she could have brought in somebody like a Bo Dallas to counter Bray Wyatt and the Fiend, and could have had a brother versus brother thing going on with that. That definitely is not happening now. So we'll see where that part's going. But there's also talk that Aleister Black has not been released as of the moment that I'm talking right now at 8:08. Others on the list include Kalisto. He's been outspoken about wanting to be used. We did see him on Friday as part of that battle royal, the Andre the Giant battle royal, but unceremoniously was dumped out. I believe also by his former tag team partners in the Lucha House Party. So Kalisto is gone. Where he could end up going, who knows? A lot of people are speculating online. AEW is going to pick up a lot of these guys, but you have somebody like Bo Dallas. Maybe he's doing stuff away from wrestling, realizing that it's not his full dream at the moment. Samoa Joe going to maybe AEW, could go back to Impact, ROH. Who knows? There's so many places for Joe to go. Kalisto could end up going MLW, or even the rebirth of. Okay, somebody else making comment on a different thing. My apologies for the distraction. Kalisto could also end up in a rebirth of Lucha Underground. And so we'll see what happens with that. Now, kind of surprising considering she was on WrestleMania teaming with Carmella, but Billie Kay is now gone. She made the travel all the way from Australia to come to North America to live her dream. And I don't know if it was lack of development or that was all character that was going on with her, but she still appeared really green. I would hope it was more character driven than actually her ability. And then you have Peyton Royce, the other half of the Iconics. I didn't agree with them breaking them up when it happened almost a year ago. And then she had this impassioned uh, promo on Raw Talk, and I don't know if they took it one way or the other, because she was just like, she's ready to go. She wants to get in there, wants to fight. Let her go and do what she can do. And she mentioned about flying all the way from Australia to live her dream here in North America. Now, did she mean let me go and take my talent elsewhere, or just open the gate and let me get in there? Because she had an amazing match with Asuka recently, and you could tell that she could really go. As far as her prospects go, I could see her going to potentially AEW, because her husband Sean Spears is there and part of Pinnacle, and Pinnacle could need a female part of their act. going on. So we'll see where Peyton Royce ends up in 90 days. Mickie James, she is another one who also wanted to let her wrestle, and we saw her doing commentary on the pre-shows for NXT Stand and Deliver this past weekend, or last week at this time. She's not being used for a long while. She could easily go to do her music career, but if she wants to work, she could end up working with her husband over in the NWA. The NWA did lose a lot of women over the last while during their shutdown and got dispersed everywhere. So who knows how many women Billy Corgan has under his contracts right now. So we'll see what goes on that end. I could see Mickie showing up there, and Melina's over there potentially still too. And then the other one that surprised me was Chelsea Green. She was down in NXT for the longest time, tried a couple times to make her debut, apparently got injured, if I recall right, on her NXT debut, then finally got up to SmackDown, and she was supposed to win that match, and I believe it was to get into the Survivor Series, and she ended up breaking her wrist. Plagued with injuries, could be the tag put on her, and that's really sad because our first appearance of her, trained by Lance Storm in Calgary, was as Daniel Bryan's therapist, and then she left and became a talent and was trained, and we saw her a lot on Impact Wrestling and also over on AEW a couple times. So won't surprise me if she's in Impact because her husband, or fiance at this point, Matt Cardona, is over there on Impact. So a lot of disbursement. And then we kind of joked with people saying, of all these people released, Mojo Rawley still has a job. Spoke too soon. Because just before I came here online, saw that Mojo Rawley has been let go too. So that didn't surprise me. It surprised me more that he was still around. But we'll see what happens with everybody on that line. So, just looking at results from WrestleMania 37. First night was on Saturday, and it was in a rain delay. I have to honestly admit, I felt a little choked up seeing the original couple minutes of Saturday with Vince there and all the talent and the rest of the family around him, and just how he welcomed everybody back and said, "And welcome to WrestleMania," in his kind of raspy old man voice. But still, it was awesome to see that moment and him doing that. And then, as America the Beautiful was being played, and you see the talent crying, including Rhea Ripley, who we found out had looked at Edge, and he gave her like a wink and a nod, and she just lost it. And fans were saying, "You got this!" And yeah, just to see the emotion of the talent and seeing the fans there. Yeah, as Chad's saying, it's nice to see the fans there. Depending on what you're listening to, whether it's WD or Uncle Dave Meltzer, uh, night one had anywhere between, I believe, 15,000 and 25,000, and night number two, or sorry, reverse that, 11,000 on night number one, night number two with 15,000. If you believe Uncle Dave, or 25,000 plus each night, according to WWE numbers. They have been known to change some numbers around, so who knows. But I didn't see a lot of social distancing. I did see a couple of videos put up where there was cardboard people beside people in the stands, but I'm not sure how it was social distanced on the floor. I guess my wife was kind of thrown off by that whole scene and really couldn't stand looking at it. I'm just like, hey, remember, this is the USA, and that's the reason why they can do some craziness and have that many people and that close with or without masks. So yeah, I just really enjoyed seeing that opening. And then we got into the main show, and people were kind of surprised, but I think I called it before that Bobby Lashley was going to defend the WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre. They went back and forth, hard-hitting match, went about 18-ish minutes, and to our kind of surprise, because I thought it was going to be Drew McIntyre, but Bobby Lashley ended up retaining and took out Drew McIntyre with the Hurt Lock. And so a world title match got decided with a full Nelson, of all things. I heard a couple of scenarios, I believe it was Jim Cornette, of how they could have really built it up as a extreme weapon and made it meaningful. But, everybody has their own directions and ideas of what's going on with that. Also on WrestleMania then was, actually before all that, gotta rewind just a little bit. We had a 25-minute rain delay, and you got to see some of the talent shine who knew how to cut a promo without it being written, because they were just doing a lot of improv there. Kevin Owens is probably the best one at it. And then they sent out Titus O'Neil and Hogan, and people were booing Hogan every time he opened his mouth, cheering Titus. It just really was an awkward dynamic between the two as well. Titus didn't look like he wanted to be there beside Hogan. Still a lot of residual stuff over the Hogan incident, shall we say, with how just the words he used to describe people. I'm not going to get into it too deep on here, but it was just really awkward. Then we had the turmoil match with the tag team turmoil. The first team out was Naomi and Lana. They took on Billie Kay and Carmella, who picked up the victory with a pin in about 2.5 minutes. Thanks for coming out, Lana and Naomi. Lana even had Rusev or Miro and her dad in attendance watching. Then out came Billy, or the Riot Squad, Liv Morgan and Ruby Riot. They took out Billie Kay and Carmella. And then Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose came out, and Mandy ended up slipping on the rampway that was wet, and she got up really quickly. Yeah, wrestlers were really into it with more energy. I think also some of the talent might have felt a little awkward performing in front of people in a year. So there's a little bit of ring rust of how to be in front of people and the excitement of WrestleMania. But yeah, Mandy Rose ended up slipping. We had wardrobe malfunctions with Carmella and also Dana Brooke, possibly Mandy Rose as well, but definitely Carmella and Dana had some issues with their ring gear, but they got taken out, and it was an awkward announcement also by the announcer saying that the Riot Squad had been eliminated, and it wasn't. But then out came the last team, Natalya and Tamina, and they ended up winning the match to go against Nia and Shayna the next night. Then one of the better matches of the whole weekend, Cesaro ended up getting a victory finally over Seth Rollins, his first WrestleMania victory other than the Andre Battle Royal. But a lot of his matches have always been tag teams and the Battle Royals. This is his first one-on-one match, which was great. AJ Styles almost against the New Day for the Raw Tag Team titles. It almost looked like New Day was the heels here, where they were blocking AJ from tagging Almost, but then Almost just destroyed them. Rest in peace, New Day. And they are the new tag team champions for AJ Styles, and Almost are making AJ a Grand Slam champion. Braun Strowman ended up beating Shane McMahon in a steel cage. Shane tried to have interference by Riker and Elias, but that didn't help. And then at one point, Braun tore open the cage to bring Shane back in as he was leaving, and then power slammed him. Also after tossing him off the top of the cage. So 51-year-old Shane McMahon taking huge bumps still. Bad Bunny took the majority of the match and beat, along with his tag team partner Damian Priest, Miz and Morrison. I think Miz and Morrison gave way too much to Bad Bunny, but when it's a celebrity, and he actually did put in the time to learn at the Performance Center. Gotta give him credit for that. Probably one of the better celebrity involvements ever, but they could have done more with Damian Priest heating up and getting at Miz Morrison, and then get Bad Bunny in there to get the victory. I would have been okay with that. And the main event of the evening saw Bianca Belair and Sasha go at it for the SmackDown title, and we have a new SmackDown Women's Champion in Bianca Belair. And there was a lot of emotion in that you see before the match, and even fan footage of Sasha after the match, and Montez Ford coming out and celebrating with his wife Bianca Belair. Really good. Sasha is now still undefeated, or winless, should I say, at WrestleMania at 0-6, the reverse Undertaker. But I don't think anybody's going to care about her record in that regards when she's putting on really good matches uh, every year. So congratulations to Bianca Belair and her victory. Then night number 2 started without a rain delay, and Hogan and Titus coming out in pirate gear. Our friend Chris Jones even compared Hogan's get up to the older Ronald McDonald's land pirate character that they had. You can check out our page on that one. Randy Orton surprisingly defeated The Fiend in no time flat. It was like less than 6 minutes. Alexa Bliss did the Jack in the Box thing. Bray Wyatt's dropped a lot of weight. I wasn't even sure it was him myself. And then Alexa came popping out of the Jack in the Box with ooze coming out of her and distracted The Fiend, and Randy picked up the victory. Not sure if he needed that victory. I would have definitely gotten The Fiend over because he's lost every other time. And it's kind of a waste of this character. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler end up retaining their tag team titles against Natalia and Tamina with a submission. This one about 15 minutes, and it was kind of hard to watch when it was two heel tag teams against each other. The fans were, though, getting behind Tamina for her change, and people were chanting for her, so they got to play babyface, I guess, for a short bit of time. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, thankfully, were not interfered with Logan Paul, who was at ringside, the guest of Sami Zayn. Paul just watched from ringside, one of the seats. Basically, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn got to live their dream, but they stuffed a 20-minute match into a 10-minute match. They got everything that they would normally do compressed into that little bit of time, with Kevin Owens picking up the victory on that. Sheamus surprisingly took the United States Championship away from Riddle. There was a little bit of a slip when Sheamus tried to do white noise off the top turnbuckle and slipped. He didn't drop Riddle and just hit the move anyways, and they kept on going like nothing happened. And the finish came when Riddle tried to flip off the rope and got kicked right in the face. His mouth was bleeding at the end, and we have a new U.S. champion. I guess Sheamus kind of earned it over the last while with the way his matches have been, especially with Drew McIntyre. So congratulations to Sheamus. And Riddle also wasn't supposed to be the champion anyways. It was supposed to be Keith Lee back at Elimination Chamber. So then we saw Apollo Crews and Big E go at it in a Nigerian drum fight that did not have a single drum used. There were cymbals, there was kendo sticks, there was everything else but a drum actually used in this, even though they were at ringside. And Apollo Crews ended up getting helped by Double Kato, who's going to be Commander Aziz or something like that. We'll find that out, I think, tomorrow. If you look up the Wikipedia page for Babatunde, he apparently is part Nigerian and Polish. So we'll see how they play off his heritage there. And so they're teamed up together, almost like AJ Styles and almost way, but he took out Big E, and we have a new Intercontinental Champion. Rhea Ripley defeated Asuka in a match that kind of had some sticky parts to it, but definitely not as bad as their match on Monday. Not sure if Rhea and Asuka gel well together. And the main event saw Roman Reigns defeat both Edge and Daniel Bryan in the triple threat match. It was back and forth between all of them. Triple threat rules, rotating people in. Concertos were dealt out by Edge, but then Roman Reigns ended up dealing out a couple of concertos, tossed Edge on top of Daniel Bryan, and all four shoulders of Daniel Bryan and Edge were on the mat, and Roman covered them. Now, a lot of people are saying that because Daniel Bryan was on the bottom, Edge was on top of Daniel Bryan, that he technically pinned Daniel Bryan and should be the champion. You're going to probably see stuff about that tomorrow night on Smackdown, because there's some tweets about that, and Adam Pierce wants to see Charles Robinson in his office tomorrow. So we'll see what happens there. And that was WrestleMania. We saw a couple of things with Hogan and Titus a little more. Bayley was also interfering on their spots, and that's how her presence was seen on the show. And at the end, she got tossed to the side by the Bella twins. So I don't know. I think Bayley deserved a whole lot better as well. But that was WrestleMania 37. I'll be back in just a second, and we'll talk about what happened after WrestleMania 37. Sorry about that.
If you want a variety of wrestling news and history, look no further than the Scumbags Wrestling family of shows. On Wednesday nights at 6 p.m., join Sean, Steven, and Jonesy as we look for the best of the best and break it all down in a unique tournament format on Fantasy Warfare Tournament. Then Thursdays at noon, take a look back at the rich history of our great sport with This Week in History. Relive title changes, births, deaths, and some of the best events of all time. Finally, join us for the latest in wrestling news, show results, and predictions Thursday nights at 8 p.m. for the Scumbags Wrestling Podcast. The Scumbags Wrestling can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram, along with our audio versions on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or anywhere else you get your podcasts from. We're a proud part of the Ontario Indie Wrestling Podcast Network and the Johners Podcast Network.
Okay, and welcome back. As Chad Peterson had mentioned, did you watch Stone Cold special with Chris Jericho from AEW? I was able to actually catch that. If you have the WWE Network, you can actually get it earlier than after those shows that they say, because in the afternoon they actually had it up. So I watched it before WrestleMania Night 2. And it was a little long. It was a 2 hour and 7 minute interview with the two. Very much a retrospective of Chris Jericho's career, how he came in, different opponents that he had. We heard about the countdown clock and everything with meeting up with The Rock. We heard about him beating Triple H for the title, but getting it stripped from him, and Vince just saying, "Whoa, it's okay, it'll happen," and how he ended up hearing how he was going to get the title from both Rock and Austin, and what happened afterwards with the pizza and the guy at the front desk of the hotel he was at. A Dusty Pizza all by himself after becoming the undisputed champion. It's those stories that have been out there before. I talked a bit about going over to New Japan and working with Kenny Omega, how it was supposed to be a one-off, but then turned into something more. And of course, on both ends of the show, they talked about AEW and how it was formed. They didn't really shy away from saying the initials AEW. They mentioned Tony Khan. They mentioned obviously the Young Bucks, Adam Page, Kenny Omega. So they mentioned all those people, and as I said, they didn't really shy away from the whole thing. And in a way, they came off as though they were, Jericho was saying, "Oh, we weren't competition for each other, and it's great to do have wrestling and stuff like that." But then, of course, off air, he has deemed AEW the winner of the Wednesday Night Wars, called himself a demo god because last night they ended up getting 1.2 million watchers, which I think every week has been about 1.3 million in total between both shows. So there's still not everybody went over to AEW that were watching wrestling on Wednesdays. Uh, then also Jericho had on Talk is Jericho Steve Austin for about an hour and 10 minutes ish, talking about his career. So they both basically did tit for tat on talking with each other and being on each other's shows. Definitely both worth watching if you're a Jericho fan. I know Steven is not, but yeah, even if you're not a fan of Chris Jericho's, there's a lot of good stuff that got put in there as well. So well worth the 3.5 hours I think it would take to take down both shows. Um, so yeah, I ended up listening to about 22 different podcasts all last week, along with all 9 days of WWE action. So a little burned out from wrestling. I was happy that I didn't really watch AEW last night and caught up on highlights, uh, including Mike Tyson being there and being inducted as part of the inner circle with Jericho. But it was a recorded episode, so not a lot happened. Darby Allin ended up beating Matt Hardy, and there was a lot of extracurricular stuff going on here and there. Confrontation between Christian Cage and Taz and Will Hobbs. So we'll see where that's going. And for whatever reason, they can't seem to wait for Blood and Guts to happen at Double or Nothing. They're going to do it at a regular episode of Dynamite, I think, in 3 weeks. I think it's 3 weeks, May 6th. That's supposed to happen with Pinnacle against Inner Circle. And so they're going to put all the blood and guts on free TV instead of making you buy it. So we'll see what happens on that one. Yeah, looking at some of the other news, Charlotte Flair returned to Raw as a heel and attacked both Asuka and Rhea Ripley, and basically complained about not being in WrestleMania, which I agree with her. She should have been. I was surprised her and Bayley were not. But of course, we saw everything that happened along the way. She was supposed to be against Lacey Evans, and Lacey Evans got pregnant. She was supposed to be going against Asuka, but then they thought she got pregnant, and then he got COVID and was cleared, but they needed to march on, not knowing how long she'd actually be out. So it does look like they're going to have a triple threat, though, coming up at their next event, which, as Chad is pointing out, WrestleMania Backlash is going to be happening on May 16th. And that's going to be a Sunday. I think I announced on the last show that it was supposed to be Money in the Bank, but it is actually going to be Backlash after all, like I thought it should have been. So we'll probably see rematches like we're going to see Lashley and Drew McIntyre again. But yeah, so that's what's happening with that. AEW mocked WD for their "Don't Slap Thighs" signs recently on being the elite, but it turns out that they have their own signs posted around backstage stating that spoilers cost jobs. AEW goes live on Wednesdays every other week, and the following night they record the next week's episode on Thursdays. And those results have been making their way to the internet, which is odd considering it's only the talent that work for AEW that are there on those Thursdays. So somebody in house is leaking results to different websites, and we'll see if those signs stop those leaks, because if not, they're going to have to figure out something else or find that person. I've Release has been released by AEW. She feels that due to her speaking out about some of the talent, having issues with some of the producers, that cost her job. She also complained about not wanting to put over um, what is it? Sorry, Thunder Rosa. Yes, Thunder Rosa. And we saw that horrible match that they had uh, together on Dynamite, where there were some stiff shots and everything going on. Not a good thing. I Release, it will be gone. Who knows where she's going to end up next? Reginald ended up missing both nights of WrestleMania due to being sick. It might be a COVID issue, and he was also absent on Monday. So we'll see if he shows up tomorrow on SmackDown or what his role is going to be. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are still tag team champions, so he could still be there. Chad is wondering, might we see Bliss versus The Fiend at the next pay-per-view? Yeah, well, as I said, on Monday, she explained that she was a little girl lost, ended up finding her way thanks to The Fiend, but has now, I guess, become more powerful than The Fiend and introduced Lily, or as people who might know about the Dark Side cult uh, Diablo issues, I guess one of the main sort of evil sources is also named Lilith. So this could be named after Lilith. It's one of the famous movie props creators, has helped WWE along the way with all the props that they've been doing with The Fiend and Alexa Bliss and the different masks. So we'll see. I'm wondering if she's got maybe somebody like Aleister Black going to be coming back, because he hasn't been released yet, I'll say. Hopefully I'm not cursing him, but maybe it is a blessing in disguise in his case. But they could always have her with Aleister Black, and Black versus Wyatt or Fiend could be a good, at least welcome back feud for Aleister. So yeah, WWE switched pay-per-view titles, as I said. So Money in the Bank will be next month. I'm still aiming at Big E to possibly be the winner of Money in the Bank, since he dropped the Intercontinental title. But we'll see if he even ends up being one of the participants, and we'll make our predictions there at that time. Raw was very lackluster this week, considering it's usually the famed night after WrestleMania edition, and there wasn't a lot of stuff to really go, oh my god, about. Normally there's like a title change. Sorry, again, makes noise. Nose. Usually there's a title change. There's returns. The only return was the Viking Experience against the former Hurt Business members, Shelton Benjamin and Alexander. So not much to talk about on that one. We did have the return of Charlotte, but she wasn't gone for long. And of course, Alexa making her proclamation and introducing Lily. It was with Finn Balor. Sorry, looking at some of my notes. With Finn Balor losing at NXT, there's wonder if he's going to come back to the main roster of Raw or SmackDown. I don't think he's actually been on SmackDown. We did see him on Raw, and his last feud was actually with The Fiend as well. So maybe Alexa Bliss with the Demon, Finn Balor. So that's that. Carrying on. After the Bell podcast this past week had Wade Barrett on it. He teased that he might be interested in putting the tights back on. He's inspired by Sheamus also, the way he's been able to carry on. But He's still got a little bit in the tank, even though he's enjoying his time with NXT and doing the commentary for that. But we may or may not see the first winner of the NXT when it was a competition be on in the ring again. If so, who would you like to see that against? You can put your comments in the comment section. Undertaker says he's also got some more left in his tank, not necessarily to do that slow, methodical walk down the ramp to be the Undertaker, but more to give back to the business and the younger talent and share his wisdom and knowledge. So he's actually been in talks with Triple H to spend time at NXT and the PC, much like Shawn Michaels and Road Dogg are. And with Road Dogg being away for a bit, we're still hoping he recovers and is able to return. But yeah, if they start using some of their knowledge that way, maybe things will get better. I just wonder what will happen. You know, all these releases that just happened today, I wonder if they would ever have been released if they were properly used. You have so much on-air time that it could be used better and promote more people, or not the same people. Rotate them in. I know AEW has so many people on their payroll, and that's why you get like 14, 15 matches on Dark and Dark Elevation, plus about 6 matches or so on Dynamite, and they usually try and stuff people in there. But having people rotate would be a good thing and be able to change things up on that. So, yeah, I just wish they'd do better. Adnan Kirk is the new voice of Raw. He used to work for ESPN and I believe Sportsnet at one point. Tom Phillips looks to be done with WWE as he was supposed to be part of WrestleMania commentary, but then he might have been sick too, and Michael Cole did the whole thing. So I'm not sure where Tom Phillips is going to end up finding himself. Could the Undertaker versus Fiend? Yeah, there's so many people for the Fiend to go against, but I want Taker to be one of those guys who rides off into the sunset and we don't see again, at least not getting into an official match. Yes, Shawn Michaels retired except for that match we want to forget as part of the Saudi show against the Brothers of Destruction with DX. But Shawn, for the most part, stayed retired, did some super kicks, so I'm okay if Taker wants to show up and do his look and everything, and maybe do a choke slam, maybe dole a tombstone, but that's it. I don't want to see any official matches with him anymore. I have too much respect for what he did for it to be even more diminished, as it already started looking diminished over time by him sticking around longer. So that's the new commentary team. We'll see if there's a new team or what the new team is going to be for Smackdown tomorrow, because with Corey Graves being taken from Smackdown and sent over to Raw to be with Adon Burke and Byron Saxton, there should be somebody new with Michael Cole. Taya Valkyrie made her debut on Tuesday on NXT, and she's going by the name Frankie Move, I believe it is. And people are making fun of it and not enjoying the new name. But she's just like, guys, I picked it. And she's happy with it. She loves it and is wanting people to stop complaining and enjoy the evolution of her new character, Frankie Monet, in NXT. She already made a splash by going and confronting the NXT Women's Champion right off the bat. So we'll see where that goes. Frankie Monet might not be too long for NXT. If my thoughts on the fact that Maurice is back in WWE this past Monday, hyping up Miz and Mrs., but they almost look like they were making John Morrison into the third wheel, and I can see an eventual breakup there. I think Steven and I talked about it one time. I'd love to see all four of them together, but if they're going to do a split, maybe Frankie Monet comes up earlier and teams with John Morrison or Johnny Drip Drip and helps him out in his feud with Miz and Mrs. So NXT moved to Tuesday, and they ended up getting 805,000 viewers. It's a new day, so we'll see if they can build up more on that. That's still more than what they had last week on their last edition on Wednesday, which was part one of NXT TakeOver. So if people get used to Tuesday nights being NXT night, they might pick up the viewers that would normally be watching AEW against them. And both shows I could see doing about 1.2 million if all things go well. But only time will tell when people get used to the new schedule of Monday to Friday having wrestling on. I mentioned about Jericho, so that's done. Maurice, Triple H's in-ring contract as a superstar is set to expire March 20th, 2022. He's apparently gets $1 million per year. But of course, I think that's based on if he competes and stuff like that, which he really hasn't. Last time we saw him was in a brief brawl with Randy Orton before Alexa Bliss and The Fiend ended up taking over that segment. But he does have some time left as a in-ring competitor. He has two different contracts. One as the CEO and also as a talent. So eventually the retirement should be coming. It's only a few days after that expires that is WrestleMania next year in Dallas. He might be able to extend it and have a retirement match, maybe against AJ Styles, who wants to have a match against Triple H, or somebody else. CM Punk had talked about if he were to come back, where big matches would be throughout Kenny Omega with AEW. Basically, he also said the big money match for WWE would be against Triple H. It's not his money to deal with or anything like that, so he doesn't care either way. But, you know, it probably is in fans' mind Triple H versus CM Punk because people know that Triple H and Punk have a real life feud with each other, and it's the reason why Punk ended up leaving, or one of the reasons why Punk left. So that would be obviously the money match. But the way he always has been leaving things, and because it has been like 7 years now since he last wrestled, he's basically put it into the corner of both AEW and WWE. Come up with the best creative, best cash, as JR likes to say. Everything comes down to the two C's, creative and cash. And if you can come up with something that interests him, he's likely to sign. And I believe somebody mentioned that if the Saudi Arabia guys hear about that, maybe some cash is going to be tossed at Punk to do one of those matches if they ever get to go back to Saudi Arabia, because the Prince will toss money, especially when he wanted the Ultimate Warrior and Yokozuna post-mortem to be on one of his shows in Saudi. So we'll see if WWE or AEW answer the sort of call. So that's all the news I have for this week, and just a couple things to update everybody on the local scene with in regards to Ontario and things that we're doing. Taking a little bit of a break from Fantasy Warfare Tournament. We need 3 members, at least odd numbers, to be a part of doing that. Just at the top of the show, Stephen is taking a little bit of time due to family passing, and we'll wait for him to be able to return. But if you're also interested in being a part of this, let us know. We can rotate guests. We can put a 5-person panel, 7-person panel, you name it. We want to share and have other voices, because sometimes we get sick of our own voice. But yeah, if you're interested in the Fantasy Warfare Tournament, we definitely welcome you to be a part of that. We have different topics and break it down like a tournament format to find the best of the best, at least in our opinion, using some knowledge, some personal opinion, and also some stats from places like Wikipedia and Google, WD, AEW, you name it. We'll find throughout the internet stats to back up some of our arguments. So that's Fantasy Warfare Tournament. We usually try to record it earlier in the week and broadcast it Wednesdays at 6. We also have This Week in History. Jonesy and I go through a week at a time for history. And this past, well, actually earlier today, you would have seen April 9th to the 15th and stuff that happened here. Got this quick blurb. And as you see, that is for the Scumbags Prediction League. It's brought to us by Cool Bet. Stay cool, bet responsibly. And we are doing this right here. The championship belt will happen next year at this time, but you need to join us for our monthly pay-per-views that happen from AEW, WWE, NXT, NXT UK, and also Impact Wrestling. People with the most points will end up going into a finals in February and March. I'll just put up the details here of what goes on. As I said, presented by Cool Bet. Stay cool, bet responsibly. 2 tiers of play. Pro for $25, which gets you eligible to win this championship belt that we got from Undisputed Belts. There's also a fun side where people can just be a part of the show, watch along with us, and you have a chance of winning t-shirts. People that took part in this past weekend's WrestleMania one ended up winning a couple of t-shirts from our store at Pro Wrestling Tees, which you can go to prowrestlingtees.com and /Scumbags Wrestling. Now for the scoring, it's 10 points for a win, 5 points for a no contest, and 0 points for a loss. A little bit hockey rules in that way with the point system, and bonus points for specialty matches. So go to our Facebook page and also our website, scumbagswrestling.ca, for more details on that. Now, other things that are coming up in this world include George Mackay having an interview with Maddie Rakanowski. I probably just butchered her name, but that is up right now. Plus, he also had an interview with Amber Nova as part of Straight Talk videos. So check out George Mackay doing that. Justin Gimmelite has Gilmy Talks, and he welcomed Lewis Carlin of Alliance Pro Wrestling Network to his show for a talk. Barry Wrestling announced that they have some post-lockdown plans. As people know, here in Ontario, we're in a little bit of lockdown. Don't know when it's going to end. Hopefully next month, but we'll wait and see. But they have some plans in Barrie for returning to wrestling. And they have a 30-man tournament that they're going to put together. The All Ontario Cup. 30 Ontario wrestlers in a tournament labeled a showcase of the best in the province. So we'll see more details as they release it. That's with Barry Wrestling. Go Backyard Pro, should I say, is looking to do season 3, and they've re-released some of their other footage recently. I know Holden Albright and Von Vertigo and all them right now, as I'm talking, are doing a watch along with one of the matches from Backyard Pro. They've also shown recently Psycho Mike versus The Rock, but they're looking to do season 3, so you can find out how you can be a part of it, and they're looking for some crowdfunding. So check it out if you like some comedy wrestling. Backyard Pro is definitely something to look forward to. They've already did 2 seasons, a couple episodes each, but well worth the look from last year. And today is Alexia Nicole's birthday, so happy birthday to Alexia Nicole. That pretty much sums up everything we're doing. Oh, Stephen O'Neill has his Slugging with Stephen, and his interview article appears on cwnonline.ca, and this week he has Kyle Boone. So the Wave Maker, one of the Wrestle Factory students, and probably one of the best that have come out of the factory. A lot of talent has come out of there, and there's a very good upside for Kyle. So definitely check out Slugging with Stephen O'Neill, and it's happening on cwnonline.ca. It comes out every Tuesday. He's also done recently Smash and Suave, Holden Albright. I believe there's Gabriel Foyza, Alexia Nicole, Von Vertigo, I think, is also there. There's a whole bunch to check out if you have not checked out any of his stuff before. And yeah, a couple of final things with the Johners Podcasting Network is a sponsor of the Wrestle Carnival in the UK, and they also have a deal with Graps. So go to grapsapparel.com and use our promo code Johners, and you can get 15% off. So if you are interested in Graps Apparel, go there and support them, and also use the code Johners to get 15% off your apparel. And speaking of Johners Podcasting Network, right here on the screen, you can see a whole lot of different podcasts that are there. I believe there's about 28. I didn't fully count. They just recently added Jofo in the Ring. There's the Call Up, Work the Left Side, Gilmy Talks, Straight Talk Wrestling with George Mackay, Rewind, Recap, Relive. There's It's Time to Fight, the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network, Wrestle Carnival, as I said, which is a sponsor of, or sponsored by the Johners. There's Knights of the Squared Circle with our friend Ryan Knight over in Stratford. There's so many different ones to look up. Bob Culture Podcast. There's the Grapple Chat. You name it, there's Wrestling with Johners, a live podcast with John Scott, and the Kyle Wrestling Podcast. So if you look at these, I know I'm missing a few. Turnbuckle Arms Podcast, and you can go check it out. 27 different, or 28 now, different shows, part of the Johners Podcasting Network, and go to wrestlingwithjohners.com. With collaboration over competition. And of course, we'll be back here next Thursday with more wrestling news and update on Impact Wrestling's next event, which is part of the Scumbags Prediction Network. And, oh, here we go. The new WWE game is coming soon. Oh, yes, there was a new ad for 2K22. Thank you, Chad, for that reminder. More details of that are coming out soon if you are a gamer and wanting a new WWE game since Battlezone came out. So we will see you on our other podcasts in the coming weeks and days. Have a great night. We're out of here.
If you want a variety of wrestling news and history, look no further than the Scumbags Wrestling family of shows. On Wednesday nights at 6 p.m., join Sean, Steven, and Jonesy as we look for the best of the best and break it all down in a unique tournament format on Fantasy Warfare Tournament. Then, Thursdays at noon, take a look back at the rich history of our great sport with This Week in History. Relive title changes, births, deaths, and some of the best events of all time. Finally, join us for the latest in wrestling news, show results, and predictions Thursday nights at 8 p.m. for the Scumbags Wrestling Podcast. The Scumbags Wrestling can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram, along with our audio versions on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or anywhere else you get your podcasts from. We're a proud part of the Ontario Indie Wrestling Podcast Network and the Johners Podcast Network.